Chairman of the People's National Congress Reform, Honorable Basil Williams and Mrs. Williams, immediate past leader, Mr. Robert Corbyn, former Prime Minister, Mr. Hamilton Green, General Secretary of the PNCR, Honorable Amna Ali, Vice Chairs, Walter Lawrence and Dr. George Norton, members of the Central Executive Committee, leader of the Alliance for Change, Honorable Raphael Trotman, and other partners of a Partnership for National Unity and the Alliance for Change, ministers of the government, members of the National Assembly, members of the Diplomatic Corps, mayors and members of regional and municipal councils, distinguished invitees, delegates, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. This 20th Biennial Delegates Congress of the People's National Congress is a powerful and pivotal political event. This Congress is the first after the observance of our party's historic 60th anniversary. Our party was born 61 years ago when our people cried out for leadership in the struggle for independence. The PNC demonstrated its fitness to lead from the time it entered office as part of a coalition in 1964. The PNC in government encouraged economic self-reliance, economic empowerment, and economic entrepreneurship in order to reduce poverty and inequality. We empowered women by pioneering the struggle for gender equality. We expanded the country's physical infrastructure through the construction of aerodromes, bridges, educational institutions, housing schemes, highways, health clinics, and hospitals. We established and completed agricultural schemes and drainage and irrigation projects to support the agrarian economy. We extended public services, electricity, telephones, transportation, social security, and pure water to citizens. We embarked on a nationwide program for providing free education from nursery to university, and we engineered regional integration in the Caribbean, in the non-aligned movement, and we pioneered opposition to apartheid, and these were pillars of our foreign policy. Our party, the PNC, is a sturdy party. It is erected on a solid structure and wedded to strong principles. It has rested secure from decade to decade on the pillars of its constitution. On this Congress, which we never fail to have, it's our 20th biennial, on the General Council, on the Central Executive Committee, on the broad membership in regions and districts and groups, and particularly on our women and youth arms. Women, from the date of the party's foundation on the 5th of October 1957, established their own organization, which today is called the National Congress of Women, and they've always enjoyed full and equal rights in our party. This Congress is a vindication of the PNC's fitness to lead in this era of change. It keeps the party aware of the changes occurring in the communities and in the country as a whole. Change is continuous, and the party needs to be ready to adjust continuously while being guided by its core principles in order to remain relevant to the country's conditions and the people's aspirations. Congress brings party leaders together to communicate, collaborate, and to recommit to fulfilling our long-term ideological goals of serving the people and preserving our beautiful country. Congress brings delegates together from all 10 geographical regions and the diaspora, and from all 3 administrative levels, local, regional, and central, around the collective vision of the destiny of the country and the future for our children. Congress has much to accomplish in these few days. It seeks to review the party's performance in government and direct its ministers, members of the National Assembly, and councillors in regions, municipalities, and neighborhoods to the way forward over the next 2 years. It will renew the networks among party members aimed at collectively improving their communities. It will recognize differences and difficulties when they arise and propose new policies to be pursued. It will reset the agenda for governance, as this, arguably, will be the last Congress before the local government elections in 2018 and before the general and regional elections in 2020. It must therefore energize the party for success in these two elections. Congress will listen to delegates. Congress will learn about their challenges. Congress will share experiences, take decisions, and adopt measures to promote the good life. Delegates, the PNCR has done more and has gone far further than any other party in our history to create an inclusionary democracy, an objective that is explicitly prescribed in the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. The PNCR was instrumental in the establishment of the inclusionary five-party Partnership for National Unity in June 2011, 7 years ago. The APNU, in turn, entered into the Commingsburg Accord in February 2015 with the Alliance for Change. The APNU plus AFC coalition now forms the government. The PNC, with its political and civil partners, remains committed to the multi-party coalition, bound together by the Commingsburg Accord. It remains committed to constructive dialogue with the political parliamentary opposition and with civil society to strengthen the practice of inclusionary democracy. It remains committed to the ideals of coalition politics and to the broader aspiration of national unity. It remains committed to perfecting our incipient system of shared governance in the belief that the coalition parties are better together than apart. Our commitment to the practice of an inclusionary democracy has been vindicated, confirming the efficacy and the necessity of the unique coalition that we have created and which our electorate has accepted. Our coalition has brought unquestionable benefits to the Guyanese people in every field. It has allowed for the deployment of broad expertise to the task of nation building. It has reignited hope and galvanized goodwill to confront the challenges which we inherited in 2015. The coalition governs for the common good. The situation it found on assuming office was worse than could have been imagined. It was a hellish inheritance. The nation was still traumatized in the aftermath of the troubles of the first decade of this millennium. That was a period when so-called phantom death squads roamed the countryside nightly and with impunity. It was a time of uncounted execution murders, uninvestigated massacres, unreported abuses, unimpeded narcotics trafficking, and seemingly unstoppable criminal violence. The worst features of the Troubles were the revelation of the cynical disdain for the victims of the violence and the contemptuous disregard for human life, which made society more callous and less compassionate. We are still trying to unravel the murky motives behind the massacres through various commissions of inquiry. The inquiry into the Lindo Creek massacre, for example, was alarming. Hold on. Was alarming not only for the loss of life, but also for the loss of trust in those few rogue officials and officers. It is disquieting that not a single minister or senior official of the previous administration has ever come forward to provide evidence to assist in solving this atrocious crime or to bring consolation to the families. Their silence has been an eloquent testimony of the license which criminal elements enjoyed during their troubled tenure, during the Troubles. Delegates, Congress has a duty, and the country has the right to find out what happened and to learn the lessons of that criminal atrocity. We must ensure that our defense and security forces protect society and are never again infiltrated or manipulated by criminal cartels or corrupt officials. That's not a threat, that's a promise. Delegates, financial mismanagement in the public sector was rife when we entered office. The Guyana Sugar Corporation was bankrupt and required bailouts which drained the treasury of more than $30 billion in 3 years. The rice industry had to be supported with $4 billion to pay paddy farmers owing to the mismanagement of the Petroleum Fund. The National Insurance Scheme was reeling from involuntary indebtedness and required an injection of $5.4 billion. Numerous unpaid liabilities, including court judgments in excess of $7 billion, had to be settled. This is what we inherited. Delegates, that was not all. Public infrastructure had been undermined by a proliferation of scandals, as evident in the costly and shoddy construction of the bridge at Maruka, the revetments at Kumaka in the Barima-Waini region, the stelling at Supanam in the Pomeroon-Supanam region, the bridge at Hope right here in the Demerara-Mahaika region, the sugar factory in the East Babis Quarantine region, the secondary school at Keto in the Patara-Separuni region, the fiber optic cable project in the Rupununi region, and the head office of the Ministry of Social Protection right here in Georgetown. These infrastructural fiascos were compounded by social distress. Society became plagued by high levels of criminality, disease, emigration, school dropouts, teenage pregnancies, unemployment, suicides, and poverty, all of which combined to create a climate of collective despair and despondency. Our coalition government responded to a deluge of demands from the ordinary people most affected by these social problems. People needed change. People wanted to see immediate improvements in their lives. The nation cried out for safety. Young people clamored for jobs. Everyone wanted better public services. Delegates, our coalition government, notwithstanding the gravity and chronic nature of the challenges with which it was confronted, sought to repair the damage wrought by the mismanagement of the previous regime and to transform the economy with a stronger role for an efficient public sector. The coalition has been diligent in its stewardship. It has set about to solve the country's most pressing problems and to lay the foundation for stabilizing the economy. Our coalition government has started to reverse the economic decline. Real GDP growth has been sustained and inflation moderated. Fiscal and monetary prudence is being practiced. The economy is being rebalanced. The traditional sectors are being restructured and preparations are made for catalyzing new and emerging sectors. The Six Sisters, bauxite, fish, gold, rice, sugar, and diamonds, which have been the victims of shocks in external markets, are being examined with a view to moving production up the value chain, preserving workers' jobs, and searching for new markets. The sugar industry is being restructured to return it to viability and to reduce its financial dependency on the state. The groundwork is being laid for the introduction of the new petroleum sector, the expansion of non-traditional agriculture, the extension of information and communications technology, and the development of renewable energy sectors. Investment is being increased to create jobs and to spur continued economic expansion. The Guyana Office for Investment has processed 477 investment proposals valued at $344.3 billion since May 2015. Regional agriculture and commercial exhibitions and microfinancing initiatives are stimulating enterprises and village economies and generating self-employment. Delegates, Congress must explore the viability of establishing networks of microfinancing agencies in each region to assist women and youth living there to embark on private enterprises. Our coalition government has worked to improve the living standards of the average worker. The minimum wage of public servants, including teachers, increased by over 50%, from $39,540 to $60,000. The Ministry of Social Protection has increased monthly old age pension by 48.6%, from $13,125 to $19,500. And public assistance has increased by 35%, from $5,900 to $8,000. Delegates, in short, the disposable income of workers has been boosted. And it has been increased also by the increase in the income tax threshold and by the reduction of the income tax rate. We care about the poor. We care about workers. Corporations have benefited from the reduction of the corporate tax rate for manufacturing and non-commercial companies from 30% to 27.5%. The value-added tax was reduced to 14%, and the value-added tax threshold increased from $10 million to $15 million. The economy is being strengthened. The enactment of anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism legislation is cleansing the economy of contamination by the proceeds of illicit transactions. Our coalition government has been promoting job creation and support for community projects which improve livelihoods. 3 microfinancing interventions: the Linden Economic Network, LEN, the Micro and Small Enterprise Development, MSED project, and Hinterland Employment and Youth Service, HEYS, have collectively provided $1.2 billion in grants and loans to more than 3,000 young entrepreneurs, including first-time business startups. Almost 400 community projects which are being financed under the Sustainable Livelihoods and Entrepreneurial Development, SLED project. The Community Organized for Restoring the Environment, CORE project, the Amerindian Development Fund, ADF, and the Basic Needs Trust Fund have been granted a total of $3.7 billion. Delegates, Guyana is soon to become an oil-producing state. It will be the most transformative economic development in our lifetime. The management of this sector is best done under an inclusionary system so that the valuable resource can be developed and exploited for the benefit of all Guyanese. The coalition government, conscious of the country's inexperience and inadequate human resources in this new field, has been prudently laying the groundwork for the petroleum sector to be managed in accordance with international best practices. We established the Department of Energy on the 1st of August under my personal and direct authority within the Ministry of the Presidency. This new department will ensure that a sound organizational, operational, legislative, and regulatory framework will be put in place to manage the sector. The department is now recruiting international and national experts to assist in this task. We shall establish also a national resource fund to ensure that the revenues accrued from oil and gas are used prudently. Guyanese can be assured that the coalition government will not be intoxicated by oil. We will not get drunk. It will manage these new resources in a responsible manner for the benefit of present and future generations. Delegates, Guyana is a beautiful, blissful, and bountiful country. Thank you. We belong to this vast Guyana Shield, a zone of incomparable biodiversity and beauty. We are part of the lungs of the earth because of the environmental services which we provide and which allow for sustaining life on earth. Our natural capital is a priceless asset. More than 75% of our land remains forested, areas which are the habitat to some of the most rare flora and fauna on Earth. Our coalition government is committed to preserving and protecting this unmatched resource by securing our natural capital to become the basis for ensuring prosperity and sustainable development for future generations. We established the Department of Environment on the 1st of September 2016 under my personal and direct authority within the Ministry of the Presidency. This department has combined the energies of the Environmental Protecting Agency, the National Parks Commission, the Protected Areas Commission, and the Wildlife Conservation and Management Commission to ensure that sound organizational and operational procedures are put in place to manage the environment. Guyana is in transition to becoming a green state. This is a comprehensive developmental model which places emphasis on the protection of our environment, the preservation of our biodiversity, the promotion of the use of renewable energy, and the adoption of practical measures to include climate adaptation. We believe in climate change. This country understands too well the risks posed by climate change. We cannot ignore the evidence of the daily damage to the coastal zone, the increased frequency of flooding in the hinterland, and the extreme meteorological events taking place. Guyana's adhesion to the Paris Agreement on Climate Change affirmed that we stand on the side of the believers, those who are interested in slowing the rise in global temperatures. This country's credentials as a global leader on the environment are unassailable. The PNC government gave effect to the Langkawi Declaration on the Environment issued by the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Malaysia in 1989, 39 years ago, by committing a forested area of 371,000 hectares, an area bigger than Malta. This is known now as the Iroquois International Center for Rainforest Conservation and Development, an international model for conservation and sustainable forest management. Our national interest is tied to international cooperation and collaboration to address the adverse effects of climate change. Pursuit of this national interest was manifest in my participation in the 22nd session of the Conference of Parties of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change held in Marrakesh, Morocco. It was manifest in my attendance at the Third United Nations Environmental Assembly held in Nairobi, Kenya, in the first conference of parties to the Minamata Convention held in Geneva in Switzerland. It was evident in my participation in the 8th World Water Forum in Brasilia, in Brazil, in my attendance at the founding conference of the International Solar Alliance in New Delhi, India, and in the 6th Assembly of the Global Environment Facility in Da Nang, in Vietnam. I go there because Guyana needs cooperation in the environment. That's why I go. We are therefore resolved to continue to participate in international movements and to contribute to global efforts to eliminate one of the Earth's most dire threats and to pursue international cooperation in order to protect our environment. The Green State will expand the protected area system by an additional 2 million hectares. We have committed the Kanashan Protected Area, an area of almost 7,000 square kilometers, to the Queen's Commonwealth Canopy, a network of forest conservation projects. And that area is larger than the island of Trinidad, with Tobago included. The Green State will harness biomass, hydro, solar, and wind sources of energy. Agricultural waste will be converted into biomass energy. Hydroelectric stations will tap energy from rapids, rivers, and waterfalls. Wind farms will generate energy along our extensive coastline and in other places. Solar farms will be established in our savannas and in the hinterland to exploit the advantages of our high levels of sunlight irradiation. Every government building eventually will be retrofitted to fulfill energy needs from renewable energy sources. Delegates, our coalition government has conceptualized the visionary Green State Development Strategy, the roadmap to becoming a green state. The development strategy is part of the means to develop a more resilient economy. It will help to boost production, enhance food security, promote value-added manufacturing, graduate Guyana towards becoming a digital nation through the use of information and communications technology, and develop green sectors such as transportation and renewable energy generation. The green state will improve sanitation and safety. It will protect our land and rivers by ending the reckless disposal of waste and eliminating the use of mercury and single-use plastics. Delegates, our coalition government is building the public education system that is suited for the 21st century. Our education policy will continue to emphasize science, technology, engineering, and mathematics increasingly, but will not neglect the liberal arts. The pace of technological change demands the training of future generations of students and the retraining of workers to be better equipped for the economy of the future. The Public Education Transport Service, better known as the 3Bs Initiative, you didn't know it had a real name, was born out of the recognition that many parents found it expensive to send their children to school. Our coalition government has prioritized education access, attendance, and achievement. These changes, which you have seen in the papers over the last 2 days, though incremental, are measurable. The Public Education Transport Service has had an impact on school attendance and household savings. The service has distributed 111 bicycles. 1,111 bicycles. In fact, my good friend Comet Fraser presented 73 bicycles for my 73rd birthday. I had to remind him that next year I'll be 124 years old. So the service has distributed 1,111 bicycles, 27 buses, and 9 boats. All of these vehicles take children to school free. The service is saving parents real money. In some cases, it can be as high as $48,000 per month per household, money which can now be funneled into other needs within the family. The Regional Public Broadcasting Service has taken public communications to a higher level through a series of radio stations in our 4 new regional capital towns, Bartikal, Lethem, Mabaruma, and Mahdia, and other satellites. Remote, rural, and hinterland communities, for the first time in our history, can now listen to regular, reliable news reports from their regional capitals and from elsewhere in the country. Delegates, our coalition government, through the work of the Ministry of Social Cohesion, is pursuing policies to create a more cohesive nation. We aim at the eradication of poverty and the elimination of inequalities and the disparities in income between the coastland and the hinterland, and between rural and urban areas. Our coalition government is promoting respect for each other's culture and for our diversity by the recognition of National Arrival Days, again for the first time. We now observe Chinese Arrival Day every January. We now observe Indian Arrival Day and Portuguese Arrival Day every May. The observance of other historic events that are of significance in our multicultural society enriches our lives and embellishes our cultural calendar. A gentler Guyana is emerging. Women attorneys in the legal profession have been appointed senior counsel for the first time in our history. Now, why couldn't this happen before? The vision thing. For the first time also, the number of women national awardees exceeded awards received by men for the first time in our history. Congress, women contributed to building our country and to building our party, and we recognize their efforts. We believe in gender equality. It was the PNCR which led the way forward by presenting the State Paper on Equality for Women to the National Assembly in January 1976. That State Paper aimed 42 years ago at, and I quote, securing equality of treatment by employers of men and women workers as regards terms and conditions of service, and generally for the purpose of making sex discrimination unlawful in employment, recruitment, training, education, and the provision of housing, goods, services, and facilities to the public. That was part of the PNC's vision 42 years ago. That State Paper ushered in a plethora of changes in the laws, two of the most important being the Equal Rights Act and the Prevention of Discrimination Act, which sought to make discrimination on the basis of gender, race, religion, or status a criminal offense. All again, the PNC's vision. Congress, we are mainstreaming youth development. We have promulgated a national youth policy, which has been adopted by the National Assembly. The policy aims at accelerating youth involvement in decision-making, improving their social, emotional, and cultural skills, and producing an enterprising and educated youth workforce. Congress, our coalition government has reinvigorated, or should I say exhumed, the system of local democracy. We have ended the previous regime's odious practice of removing elected municipalities and installing the ignominious interim management committees. A whole generation is growing up never having heard the expression IMC. Local government elections were held on the 18th of March 2015, less than a year after we entered office, and after an intermission of almost 22 years since the last elections were held on the 8th of August 1994. Delegates, elections will be held regularly as long as I am president. These elections have empowered our citizens, energized our communities, and eliminated one of the sources of strife and stagnation in our municipalities and rural areas. We convened the National Congress of Local Democratic Organs, which has become a vehicle to promote greater communication and meaningful cooperation between the regional democratic administrations, the municipalities, and the neighborhood democratic councils, and the central government, all three levels. We established 4 new towns at Bartica, Mabaruma, Madi, and Letham. We announced a policy of regional development aimed at ensuring that every region will be led by a capital town to drive the delivery of public services and to promote economic growth. The progress being made by towns under democratically elected municipal councils has been visible, has been measurable. Congress, villages are central to local government. It was with this consciousness that as leader of the opposition, I moved a motion in the 10th Parliament calling for the 7th of November every year to be designated as National Day of Villages. The motion was approved by the National Assembly, thanks to the support of the Alliance for Change, together with the votes of the APNU. The motion was approved, but the previous regime never implemented it. The motion had to wait until I became president in 2015 to officially declare a National Day of Villages. Congress, the nation is still haunted by the ghosts of the dead who perished in the carnage and rampage of criminal violence during the deadly troubles. The nation's soul has been scarred by the criminality and by the atrocities of that period. Our coalition government is bringing reconciliation to the nation and comfort to the wounded families. It is pursuing truth and justice for the victims of the criminal violence perpetrated during the Troubles, including the bloody massacres at Agricola, at Baggerstown Eccles, at Blackbush Polder, at Border, at Buxton Friendship, at Kitty, at Le Bon Intention, at Lamahaw Gardens, at Lindo Creek, at Lusignan, at Sadnagar, and elsewhere. I don't think there's any other Caribbean country that can count massacres the way we counted massacres during the first decade of this millennium under the previous regime. No. Our coalition government is reshaping public administration to serve citizens through the delivery of improved public services. We shall enhance the delivery of services in the fields of business, citizenship, culture, the economy, the environment, public education, public health, public information, public infrastructure, public security, public telecommunications, natural resource management, social cohesion, and sport. The Department of Housing is redressing the discrimination and disenfranchisement of past house lot allocations. It is prioritizing housing for low-income workers. It is providing a range of housing options for those seeking to own their own homes. 3,695 house lots and 195 housing units have been allocated since June 2015. The Ministry of Business is making the country into a magnet for investment. The recent launch of the American Chambers of Commerce of Guyana is a sign of the growing interest in the country as a prime investment and business destination. The ministry is stimulating the growth of small and medium-sized enterprises and promoting self-employment, even as it seeks even larger investments. The Ministry of Public Health is addressing the well-being of our citizens. It is driving a national health policy predicated on providing universal access to public health, promoting universal primary health care, and emphasizing preventive care. The ministry is improving access to inclusive, reliable, and quality health services. The Ministry of Public Infrastructure is preparing Guyana for a new wave of infrastructural development. The development of the Linden-Lethem roadway and the erection of a new modern bridge across the Demerara River and a bridge across the Essequibo River are under active consideration. The Ministry of Public Telecommunications is bringing internet connectivity to more communities, schools, and public buildings. We are moving towards becoming a digital nation with the priority on the use of ICT to improve communications, particularly for hinterland communities. The Ministry of Natural Resources is working to align the extractive sectors along a green trajectory of development. The emphasis on green development need not de-emphasize the importance of the extractive sector. The Ministry is pursuing policies to encourage adding value to extractive production and to enhance greater environmental security in the natural resources sector. The Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs is leading the national effort to reduce economic and social disparities between the coastland and the hinterland and to create a more equal society. A 10-point plan has been promulgated to promote identity, inclusivity, and prosperity among the indigenous peoples. A call has been made for the development of village improvement plans to drive the development of more than 200 indigenous communities. The government is working with the National Tush House Council to enhance the development of these villages. Our coalition government, mindful of the need to improve human safety, embarked on the reformation and retooling of the security sector. A United Kingdom-funded security sector memorandum of understanding has been negotiated and is being implemented with direct oversight from the highest office in the state, the Ministry of the Presidency. Our coalition government is making Guyana safe from within and from external security threats. A frontline villages policy has been unveiled to ensure the safety of residents and the development of frontier communities, which are the guardians of our territorial integrity and protectors of our national patrimony. Congress. Guyana, throughout its 52 years of independence, suffered from the Venezuelan claim to its territory. This threat robbed citizens of the prospect of a safe life in secure communities. It scared away investors. It scuttled development projects. Our coalition government has been reasserting forcefully, firmly, respect for our sovereignty and territorial integrity. Guyana, in the face of provocation, launched sustained engagements aimed at garnering international support for the respect for our territorial sovereignty and integrity. We placed the long-standing controversy with the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela before the Secretary General of the United Nations, where it belongs. We asked him to choose a pacific means of settlement on the agreement to resolve the controversy over the frontier between Venezuela and the then British Guyana, which was signed in February 1966, just before independence, and is commonly known as the Geneva Agreement of 1966. We have sought a juridical settlement for the controversy. Our government, owing to these efforts, sought to bring this controversy to a peaceful and legal end. The case has been referred formally to the International Court of Justice. It has been one of our greatest diplomatic achievements. We are confident. We anticipate a ruling which will affirm and reaffirm the award regarding the boundary between the colony of British Guyana and the United States of Venezuela, as it was then called, in 1899, and to reassert our convention that there is no validity in the Venezuelan claim to our territory. Congress. The internal situation in the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela has had an impact on the internal situation in the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Scores of destitute refugees have been entering our country, mainly through the Berimo-Waini region, Region 1, which we call the Northwest. We have taken the trouble to establish a Department of Citizenship under my direct authority in the Ministry of the Presidency when we entered office in May 2015. This department has been ensuring that internationally accepted best practices are adopted to humanely manage the influx of refugees. The wisdom of establishing this department, questioned at first, has now become evident. The department has also extended its reach and the quality of its administration of birth, marriage, and death registration, and passport and immigration services. Our citizenship policy is to ensure that every Guyanese can be accounted for from the time of birth to death, as far as humanly possible. Our coalition government has re-energized our external relations. Foreign policy is the basis for pursuing our national interests in the international community. It has immense support for our security and national development. We value our close ties with friendly states, including those within the Caribbean community and the Federative Republic of Brazil, whose support has been pivotal to ensuring respect for our nation's security. Congress, my state visits to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, the Republic of Chile, and the Federative Republic of Brazil, and my meetings with Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II of the United Kingdom, the President of the Swiss Federation, the President of the Republic of Suriname, the Prime Minister of India, and other heads of state and government in the margins of international meetings of the Caribbean community, the Commonwealth, and the United Nations have all enhanced Guyana's standing in the world. Guyana has strengthened its relations with the wider world, including in Asia. We have joined the International Solar Alliance. We have signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the People's Republic of China within the framework of China's Silk Road economic belt and the 21st Century Maritime Silk Road. We look forward to deepening our cooperation with both the Republic of India and the People's Republic of China. Our coalition government is proud of its record of achievements. It has brought about measurable and substantive change. It has made itself into an indispensable vehicle for continued national transformation. Congress, the PNCR has performed well. It is a national and natural leader. It is the party of and for the future. The PNCR is giving effect to the constitutional principle of inclusionary democracy and helping to transform the political culture and the national economy by emphasizing the need to reduce inequality. The PNCR is dismantling the authoritarian apparatus of managing municipalities and by empowering local communities and neighborhoods. The PNCR is managing economic transformation prudently by eradicating poverty, eliminating inequality, and promoting economic independence. The PNCR is establishing a mechanism to ensure that the incipient petroleum sector is managed prudently in accordance with the best international practices. And the PNCR is ensuring that the most transformative development in our country's economic history will become an opportunity to ensure that its revenues provide a sustainable and prosperous future for all. Congress, everyone wins with the PNC, a party which represents all segments and strata of society. The PNC will continue to guide the government to pursue policies and plans which will ensure that everyone will benefit from the economic and social development that we envisage. The PNCR in government has been a force for good in improving people's quality of life. This Congress reaffirms that the PNC is a party of the people and for the people. Out of this Congress, the PNCR will emerge stronger in the 2018 local government elections. To be in a better position to protect local democracy, to empower citizens, and to revitalize local communities. The PNCR will be able to combine with its partners in a coalition for good to compete in the 2020 general and regional elections, so that the goal of the good life for all can be realized collectively. The PNCR will continue to lay the foundation for future generations to be the beneficiaries of a secure, safe, strong, stable, and prosperous state. Delegates, Guyana's children deserve to grow up in a country in which the good life is assured. Guyanese people deserve a party that ensures their protection under the law, safety from criminal violence, a healthy environment, and a high standard of living. Guyana is a country of 1,000 opportunities for prosperity and happiness of the common folk. Delegates, this is the party, this is the country, and this is the time.